Okay, I'm recording. So now that we're here, this image that we have up here is compiled with positive space and negative space. Okay, our brains are constantly in a mode of trying to figure things out as we look at them. We look at a poster on the wall, we automatically start trying to find letters to figure out what the poster says and try to figure out what the image is or the picture is to try to get as much information as we can from it. So when we look at an image like this, that's what our brain goes to. Now, some of us look at this and we see the white like candlestick or chalice or like the opening of a horn or a trumpet, right? We see that and we say, oh, okay, that's what I'm looking at. Some of us look at it and we see the two faces. We see a forehead, eye, nose, mouth, chin. Forehead, eye, nose, mouth, chin. Okay. The white is what we call our positive space, and the black is what we call our negative space. Okay. So let's roll through some of these sides that I have. When I flip it, you see what ends up happening is it goes to this, and now it's going to be a little bit easier for some of us to see the faces or to see that vase that's in the middle of it. Okay. Now, when I end up adding more detail to it, now we really know what it is. Okay, well, it's a candlestick chalice thing, but are the faces still there in the negative space? Yeah, the faces are still here. Look at, here's the forehead, eyebrow, the nose, the lips, and the chin. All of that stuff is still there. What's that?
Wouldn't that be a positive space now because it's white?
No. So here's the misconception. That's a great question, Amy. So positive and negative isn't just white and black. We're going to go through the definitions, but the positive space is the tangible space, the stuff that you can grab onto. And if I did a good job as a teacher, I believe I have that here. I don't have that here. Go backwards. Okay, so let me go like this. I'm going to turn on closed captioning because I'm not a good teacher. And this should give you captions now, so you can see kind of what I'm saying. And as I say this, I'm going to say the definitions that I want you to write down for your positive and negative space. Okay, so the definition for positive space. Positive space is the tangible aspects of a design. So now understand something as I teach. When I say something really slow, that's usually something you should write down. So positive space is the tangible, the part you can grab, the tangible aspects of a design. Is that written up there so you guys can see it? Oh, no. Okay.
Can you say it again?
Yep. Positive space are the tangible aspects of a design. Tangible will be the parts that we can grab. So if we look at this picture right here, we see the gold chalice piece. That is going to be our positive space because we look at that and say, oh, I can grab that. Okay. That's like the piece that I can hold on to. Now, the negative space, so write on your notes underneath it, the negative space is the empty space that surrounds the positive space. Again, the negative space is the empty space that surrounds the positive space. I guess it can fill the positive space too. So when looking at this, if you go back to your question, Amy, that you had before, this chalice piece or candlestick or whatever, this is my positive space. It's the tangible piece that I can grab and the negative space is everything else around it that is nothing. If I look at a wonderful glazed, warm Krispy Kreme donut, the Krispy Kreme donut is the positive space. The space in the middle of the donut and everything around the outside of it is negative space. That's kind of the mindset I want you to get in. If I am a little teacup, short and stout, here's my handle, here's my spout, everything around me is negative space, but so is the space inside of my arm. Okay, so that's really what we got to visualize. So looking back at this slide that we have, if I look at this first image here, if we understand that our canvas, what we're drawing on, is black, and this is the object that we've made, then this is our positive space, the part that we've created, and our negative space is everything else around it. Okay, so as that goes into some other examples. Let's look at this example. Now, this one, we have to kind of dictate what is what. So I will say our canvas is white, and we're going to put down a piece of black construction paper over the top of it. So we can try to dictate that like the black is our positive space in this, but it's really confusing because they're both the same thing. You can't really tell which is which. Okay. What we can tell though is if this is a hand right here, that the edge of the hand is created by the white of the other hand. Okay. So one of them is the emptiness, like say the white, and then the black is the tangible object that we have in our negative space, or sorry, our positive space. Okay. Now how that applies to art and design, type real quick. What's the first thing you see? Type in the chat. What's the first thing you see? How do you describe this? Panda hugging, white bear or something. Cool. Squirrel getting hugged. And antelope. Bear. Cool. Okay. So we're kind of like, okay, it's bears. Now, here is how our brains function. Like I said, our brains are constantly trying to figure out what we're looking at, right? So when we see something like this, I kind of got the same thing. It looks like two bears that are embracing each other, that are hugging each other. But let's look at this extremely literally, okay? I've never seen a bear look like that in my life. Like, that is not a bear, right? Like, if we think of what bears look like, that's not what a bear looks like. There's a white object, which case, so say we have a white bear and a black bear. But what are the traits that we see that make us associate it as a bear? Well, there's the little ears, little stubby ears. So we kind of have in our brain what bears look like, kind of a bigger, wider body, little stubby legs. So we kind of, maybe the face shape, like we see these different things. We say, hey, that's more like a bear than it is a hippo. That's more like a bear than it is a lion. It's more like a bear than it is a giraffe. So our brain, the second we see things, our brains go, and they scan through all of our thoughts and all of our memories, and they try to piece together what we're looking at. We also can see that there is another object there, but our positive space really only tells us there's one character. There's just this one white bear, right? But we see these arms that extend across that are cut out of the white bear. And so we say, okay, well, if these arms are coming this way, we can kind of assume this is an arm going that way. There's a head right here, and we can assume this is another head because of the dot to kind of draw those two together. But there's no ears on this one. And then, there's arms, but this one has no fingers. There's no legs that we can see. So we're just kind of piecing things together. The more literal we look at this, the weirder it ends up looking. Okay? Follow me with this one. Try to look at just the white space and try to find the weird bird-like creature. This isn't one of those like mind tricks that is supposed to happen. I'm just trying to get us to look all weird. Yeah, it looks like some weird giraffe thingy, right? So look, we have, follow me with this. Here's my creature's nose and its giant lower jaw. and it's eating like a pill or a treat or something like that. Okay, so it's like a big like a pelican going like this jaw sticking out, and then it has this really crooked neck, kind of like a giraffe neck, with like a turkey gobble here and like some bumps on its spine, like a dinosaur over here. And this big protruding chest with two little stubby legs and a tail. Like once you look at just the white space, it's like, that's a really weird creature, right? But it's not about that. It's about the designers showing you just enough information to make you assume, and then being able to tie in the point that they're trying to put across, which is really two bears hugging. That's what the main logo of this is. Okay. Where's the bird? Sorry, it's kind of a bird-ish creature. Here's its upper beak or nose, and here's its lower jaw right here. I just said a bird because I always think of like a pelican or something like that. Okay. I know. It's changed forever, Brooklyn. Okay. Now let's go to the next one. Look at how this is utilized in art, and I apologize for how pixelated and horrible the picture is. I couldn't find a better one. But the detail, the information that we have, the stuff that we can associate with, that we can recognize, is the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the shadows. We even have some hair. Really cool picture, really pretty drawing, right? But look how they use negative space. We see the outline of what we can associate as hands on this person's face, but the hands aren't actually drawn there. If you think about it from an artistic standpoint, a reason why an artist might do this is maybe the detail in the hands are going to take away from the beauty they're trying to show in the picture of the face. Okay? So they don't want to show a bunch of detail in the fingers because the fingers are covering up the face, and you don't want to seal that, but you still want to be able to show that kind of shy, hiding approach to it. So there's a really interesting way to approach using negative space in a drawing. Okay. Another big reason for using positive negative space, and is what we're really going to focus on, is how to tie in multiple aspects of a story to a simple image. Okay. As we get into design, as we get into talking about logos, and we get into talking about stuff like that, it's really important that we understand that logos are meant to catch your attention in a split second, and in that split second will probably end up telling some type of a story. Okay, so as we go on, look at this image and look at how it tells a story. It has a positive shape. The positive space is a shape that we can associate with as a shark. Okay, we have the shark snout, we have an eye, and we have the teeth. Teeth go back to the mouth. But look at how the designer decided to make this shark look a little more threatening. And all it did was, instead of letting the mouth come to a point where a shark's mouth normally does, they put the silhouette of a foot. So now, simply by adjusting that negative space, we have a story to this now. Now it's not just a shark. It's a shark that eats people. It's a shark that is feasting on a leg. Okay? And it makes the shark look a lot more threatening. Right? They didn't add a foot, but they used the negative space to make the silhouette of a foot to allude to that being part of the story. A lot of times, too, positive negative space is simply just switching the black and the white. Okay? When we look at this, look at all this negative space. The negative space in the S, the negative space in the I's and around the T. Once we start looking at it in black, we start seeing all these little different shapes that pop up. And in my personal opinion, a lot of the most successful logos that have been made over the past like 10, 15 years are logos that really do a great job of incorporating positive and negative space. Okay, let's get into some logos. Look at the story that's being told in this one. The problem, or the company that they're trying to work for, is the Guild of Food Writers. Okay, so basically what they're doing is they're a group of people that get together and they write about different food experiences. Okay, so they need a logo for themselves. So the designer sits down and says, okay, I got to work all of this stuff into one logo. How do I work in writing about food into one logo? Well, they took a pen quill from an ink pen, because a pen quote from ink pen has this little slit in the middle of it that has a dot, or usually a perfectly round dot, and that's what holds all the ink, and then the ink can come out into the calligraphy tip pen. So what they decided to do was take that ink quill people can associate with as pens, and then instead of doing the straight line with the dot, they end up doing a spoon to show food and how that ties in with writing. The positive space here is the pen head itself. The negative space is simply just a spoon in the middle of it. Very simple. Very, very, very easy. Notice, too, how they didn't draw a spoon added to a pen. They cut the spoon out of the pen itself. Another example. I like this one a lot. Spartan golf clubs. Okay, we see the guy swinging a club. So here's this guy right here. He's swinging a golf club. You see these lines kind of showing the movement of the golf club. His arms are back like this, kind of in the finishing his swing. And there's the golf club down here. But then if you look wider at this, we see a Spartan head. There's a nose bridge right here with lips and a chin. Here's the eyeball. There's kind of a negative space helmet with this helmet flare on the top of it. So both of those two images are worked into it. Now, it's not showing one image in positive space and one image negative. It's kind of both in positive space. But this negative space contributes a ton because that's kind of the shape of the helmet. You are going to be given the task of creating a logo that represents you. And you're going to have to take a letter, and in that letter, you're going to have to utilize the negative space to represent you in some way. Okay? So when I'm looking at this K, first I need to find the positive space, which is basically the K itself. We have the top of the K, the left side, the right side, the extensions over here. Excuse me. And all of my negative space is this space out here on the right, this space out here on the left, the space up on the top, the space down here on the bottom. So it's you as the designer's job to try to think or try to take what you're representing and try to work it into those negative spaces to make it very, very simple and show something in the white with letting the black still be readable and still be understandable. So watch how this artist took the approach. A lot of different information here. We have what we can assume to be two birds. One bird looks like it's feeding the other bird. So we can get really deep in terms of like maternal instincts and providing for someone else and all those type of things. But the whole point of it is we have the K right here. And in the negative space down here, we have this bird. And in the negative space on the right, we have this bird. Now, see, it cuts into it a lot. This cuts into this a lot. But they still left enough information for us to see the flow of the letter and realize that it's still a K. If this bird were to go up a ton or this one were to come over a lot and give a big white space right here, it might cut this letter in half, and then it doesn't look like it anymore. Okay? So it's really important that we keep the integrity of what our piece is going to, the integrity of and the readability of our letter. Here's one of the most famous negative space logos ever. Okay, it's the FedEx logo. But you see, as they tightly kerned their letters, which means they get them really tight and overlapping, and we look at the negative space, they have an arrow over here on the right side of their FedEx logo to show movement. To show FedEx, we're all about moving. We're about getting things places on time. We're about shipping your package in an efficient way. So they, with purpose, adjusted this X and this E so it would line up perfectly to have an arrow going to the right in the FedEx. Okay? Pretty fun. Okay, so that's the main presentation I have for you. We have any questions on the concepts, main concepts of positive and negative space? Awesome. I like to hear that silence. Okay. So now what we're going to have is you're going to follow along with me, and I'm going to try to figure out how to do this. I had a camera stand, and my camera broke. My camera stand broke. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my webcam. You guys are flying, if you didn't understand that. That was my sound effect of flying. Whoa. Okay, seasick. Okay. Here's my paper. I'm going to try to write this out for you. And as I write it, you are going to be copying the same things because this is going to be the requirement for your project. Now, for our project that we have, just to cover our schedule for this week to make sure we're all on the same page, tomorrow is going to be a fully asynchronous day. Like I said yesterday, I don't usually do asynchronous days, but tomorrow is going to be an asynchronous day. Sorry, 1 second. Tomorrow's going to be a fully asynchronous day, as well as Thursday. Okay, there is no school on Friday, so the reason for that is Wednesday is a holiday. Thursday is going to be parent-teacher conferences at night, and then the morning is going to be parent-teacher conferences. So there's no class on Friday at all. So what's going to happen is I'm going to give this assignment out, and then we're going to have today, Wednesday, and Thursday to work on this. Try to get the whole thing kicked out. It should be able to get done for the most part, and then we'll wrap some things up on next week. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Please follow along and write down the notes. I'm sorry if I wiggle this thing. I will try my best to not do that. Okie dokie. And I'll write in Sharpie, so hopefully you can see it pretty well. Okay, number one. First thing we need to work on is to create. I write in all capitals. You don't have to. Create a personal word cluster. Create a personal word cluster. It must have a minimum of 50 words. It's a lot. Don't worry. It's doable. Okay. You don't know what that is, but I'll go over it before we're done with class today. So don't worry. So number one, please write that down. Create a personal word cluster. And that will be posted as one assignment in our project. Okay. Number two, circle the 5 words that best describe you. Circle the 5 words that you find that you feel best describe you. And then the final assignment that will be due is to sketch out a visual representation for each word. Each of the 5, each of the 50, each word. Amy, don't let people poke you. Say, poke or no pokey. You're in class. You can't have any people just crashing your class right now, Amy. Okay, so again, create a personal word cluster. 50 words. Circle the 5 words that you feel best describe you. And then number 3, sketch out a visual representation for each word. Again, the personal word cluster is 50. You're circling 5 words. And then, yeah, when you sketch out a representation for each word, it's for each of the 5 words. So when you're done, you have 5 sketches. Okay, now, the reason for this is we're going to eventually make a logo that represents us. The problem that Mr. Reynoso has every time I teach this project is I say, hey, you're going to make a logo that represents you. And more than half of my class goes, I don't know anything that represents me. I'm lost. I don't have anything that I love. Like, you know, like, kind of that type of stuff. And so what we do is we get a whole bunch of information, and then I say, well, you know what represents you because you just did it as a project. So that's kind of why we end up doing this. Also, this word cluster is something that I still use to this day. When I have design projects or jobs that I have to do for somebody, a lot of times that I kind of don't really know what I'm going to draw or don't know how I'm going to design something, I start off with the word cluster. I just do a whole bunch of random words. I actually learned it in like my sophomore English class back in the day, and it clicked, and it really works. So that's what I'm going to do with you guys. So I'm going to show you an example of what a word cluster looks like, and then we're going to go from there. All right. So this is how it's going to start. It's very, very simple. All of you can start the same way. You're going to write you in the middle of the page. Okay. Now, the main point of this is the first little extensions from this word cluster are going to be words that you feel associate with you directly. So what I would do is I would start off with like my main roles. So like husband, father. Again, like profession a little bit. So I'll go teacher. I'll go coach. I'll go artist. I'll go musician. And all I'm doing is kind of writing words that I feel represent me. Okay. There's a bunch of other stuff that I can put on here, but this is how I'm going to start it, just to keep it simple. Okay. So already I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 words out of my 50 that I need. Okay. Now here's the next thing. Let me go with, I'll just go off of coach. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write words that I associate with the word coach. Not necessarily with me, but with coach. And some of these will definitely apply to me, but I'll be like, so I'll come here and I'll write TNF because I'm the head track and field coach. And then off track and field, I'll go to, let's see, throws. What other things associate with track and field? Sprint. A word that I associate with sprint, fast. A word that I associate with fast, rabbit. Now, this is totally random. I've gone from me to coach to track and field to sprint to fast to rabbit. From rabbit, I'm going to go to ears. Now, this ears doesn't necessarily represent me, right? But that's why I said the 50 words shouldn't really scare you, because now out of just this one spot, what I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I already have 12 words. Okay. Here's one of the easiest ones. And I'll put this over here because this is like the majority of you. You're like, I'm a gamer. Because y'all think that you're like God's gift to gaming. Okay. So I'm a gamer. Now, but you say, that's all I do. There's nothing that I can figure out with gamer. No, there's tons of stuff that you could do. Okay, if you're a gamer right here, first off, let's talk about a console. Okay, so we'll go console. So we'll go like what, Xbox or PlayStation? What do you guys do? Xbox, first one I saw. Okay, so I'll go like this. Gamer, Xbox. Okay, well, with an Xbox, I need controllers. There's another one over here, controllers. I also need games. Boom. When I get to games, oh my gosh, game title, game title, game title, game title, game title. There's like 6 that I can get right there. With controllers, I go to buttons. I write out buttons, circle that. From buttons, I have what, like blue, green, yellow, red. You know, so I have all these different things. So it's not like you have to like get super specific, but all we're looking for is words that can associate. The whole point of doing this exercise is you get words that you find that end up associating with you, and then maybe you get some themes. Why does the word red show up on my word cluster like 15 times? Turns out I really like the color red. So maybe if I do a project, I should probably work red into it. Okay, there's a lot of truth that comes out of doing something like this. Don't try to think too hard. Just try to write down the things that pop into your head. Okay, so that is your step 1. Create a personal word cluster of 50 words. As soon as you finish that part, you get this done. You're going to take a picture of it. A lot of my students do it on their phones. They just take a picture of the paper itself, and then they turn it in on their Google Classroom through their phone, which you can do. Okay. What does number 2 say? Circle the 5 words that.
Can you write all the words digitally?
You can do it digitally too. Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. But I still want to see where the connections are, and that's the hardest part with doing it digitally. Is you got to see what is connected to what. So if you have a way to do that, then that's totally fine. The next part is to circle the 5 things that best describe you. So what I will do with a thicker pen or another colored pen or something like that, I'll come and I'll circle artist, and I'll circle throws, and I'll circle like strength. If I had it over here somewhere, and circle notes. I get those 5 circled. This is the easiest project you can have all year. Take a picture of this same thing again with the circles and turn that into the next assignment. That's 2 assignments down. You do those 2 things, you have 2 A's. Okay? The final part is to sketch out a visual representation for each word. And this is just taking these words that I have now, I'm going to visualize them. So if I have, for instance, like artist, okay, some things like a visual representation I have for artist, maybe I'd go like this, and I draw like a painter's palette with like paint splotches on it. That's pretty kind of iconic for art, right? So an old school like painter's palette. If I have strong, say strong is one of my things. I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to draw some weights. Okay. So it's like weights on a bar for strong. If love is one of your words, try to stay away from like a heart. Okay. Just try to stay away from like some more generic things. Try to push it a little bit. If you have a word like compassion, that's going to be something that's going to be pretty intense. And you're going to have to try to visualize and try to represent. Okay. If I have, maybe I have something like honor. I had a kid one time had the word honor. This is why it popped in my head. And what they did for honor, let's see what I'm drawing here. They did a candle for honor. I was like, huh, how does a candle show honor? I said, because it's constantly burning, it's constantly providing light, it's always doing what's right, and it's always helping. I was like, whoa, that was super deep. But it works. Like if it associates with you, that's totally fine, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to do your 5 different pictures. And once you have those, I want you to write next to them strength, artistic, so on and so forth. So labeled, oh, sorry, you can't see that. So write strength, write artistic, write honor, or whatever. And then that will be your final piece to take a picture of and to turn in. Okay. Next week, we get back together and we're on the actual full week. Then we'll sit down and we'll start talking about how we're going to start taking this information, turn it into an actual logo that represents you. Okay. But these are the main things that we're looking for. So as you can tell, we are not yet into positive, negative space. We're just getting our ingredients ready to go cook our meal, if that makes sense. Okay. So again, I want to make sure I say this over and over again. So we have it on video and we have it with you guys. You are going to create your word cluster. That's the first one. Take a picture, post it. Circle your 5 words that best describe you. Take a picture, post it. Sketch out a visual representation, an image that associates to each one of those 5 words that you circled. Write them all out. Take a picture and post it. And that is all the work you will have to do this week. Okay. Questions you guys have on the stuff that I just threw at you? Yeah, Amy?
For the sketch, does it have to be like an item or like just like a thing, or can you like have a whole paper drawing?
Do it something small, ladies. So what's going to happen is we're going to take these. That's a good question. We're going to take these and we're going to work them into letters eventually. So make it something small. Don't do like a full like drawing with color and like flair and stuff like that. Just really simple little icons, little logos like this, so nice and simple and easy to see. You don't need to worry about shading and adding value and doing anything like that. Just nice little line drawings, nice little simple ones like that. But I had like someone did love one time, and instead of a heart, they did 2 arms holding a little like a baby. They had like a baby head with 2 line drawings of arms, and that was how they showed love. I was like, oh, it's really cool. So yeah, so that's kind of how you're going to figure that out simply.
So you can't just like draw a whole bunch of lines across the paper. You just have to like a little space for it to be done.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Other questions? Do you describe reading? Sorry. You don't necessarily have to. Sophia, the question is, do you describe why you sketched your item? I am not really too worried about that. I might ask you when you turn it in. I might say, wow, why did you use this image for this word? But you don't necessarily have to give your opinion or your reasoning why, because I want it to represent you. So if you feel it represents you, then it represents you. Yeah.
Does it have to be like an item or like something that actually already exists in this world, or can you kind of like make your own thing?
You can make your own thing, but so this is one thing I haven't said yet. Thank you very much, Amy. One thing I haven't said yet, and I usually cover it on day 1, but I didn't with us yesterday. I want you to write this down in your notes somewhere. There's a really big difference between design and fine arts. Okay. And what that difference is fine arts are usually created paintings, fine artworks are creations made to show an emotion. Fine arts, creations made to show, I guess, or express an emotion. One more time. Fine arts are creations that are made to show or express an emotion. So you think about a lot of historical fine art pieces, they're using different lights and different values, or telling a story, and they're trying to convey their opinion of what is happening. And you can go to a museum and you could look at a fine art painting and be like, oh, that's horrible, or oh, that's beautiful. And it doesn't really matter because it's what's being represented by the artist. If I do a painting for you and you all sit in a classroom, look at it and say, this is the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life, it doesn't really matter because it's about me and what I'm trying to express. Design is simply made to attract others. The purpose of design is to make something that attracts others. So to counter what I just said with the painting, if I do a t-shirt design and I put that t-shirt up in a store and no one buys it, it's not a successful design, right? So when you're doing designs, it's all about trying to figure out what people will associate with, what they'll recognize and what they'll see. So to go back, as a long answer to your question, Amy, go back to your question of, do we have to do something of this world? No, not at all. But the problem is, if people look at it and they don't understand the emotion from it, it might not be the best thing to do. If I have my favorite movie in the world, my favorite movie in the world is about this fox that ended up saving an entire universe, and I put the silhouette of this fox in my logo, people might look at it and be like, why has he got a fox in his logo? Because they don't have the same association that I do, right? But if I put a picture of, let me say, a shield with a star on the inside of it, kind of like a target-looking round shield with a star on the inside, almost everybody can look at that and be like, oh, Captain America. Psh, this dude likes Captain America. And I'll be like, yes, I do. Because it's something that's very recognizable. So that's kind of where that goes in terms of trying to take your words and use really simple, recognizable objects and what we create them with.
So
make sure you can use whatever you want, but I may come back and ask you, okay, I don't know what this is. You have to explain it to me.
okay.
Any other clarifying questions? Awesome. All right, folks. So you have the rest of the class period, like 5 minutes, I guess, before lunch starts, 5-10 minutes. Go ahead and start working on your word cluster if you want. Please, I recommend that you take a chunk of class time tomorrow, our normal class time, to sit down and kick this thing out. You can probably get it all done in one class period. Then you won't have to worry about it on Thursday at all. Also, the way that this is going to work asynchronously, make sure you're all paying attention real quick. I am going to post a Google form on our class that you need to click on and fill out. It'll give me your name, give me the class that you're in, and then what's your progress on your project so far. Haven't started yet. Almost done. Finished it yesterday. Whatever your progress is. And then you'll submit that form, and that's how we'll do attendance tomorrow and on Thursday. So just look for that form. It has to be due before, the form has to be filled out before 3 o'clock, though, because that's when I have to get all the attendance entered. If you do it after that and I don't get it entered, then you're going to end up being called home sick. So it'll be posted to the classroom. You'll click on classwork. It'll be a link right there. You'll go fill that out, submit it at any point throughout the day. I don't really care when you do it, just as long as it's before 3 o'clock. And then I will enter the attendance at 3.
How will you turn in the stuff you have? Will it be on the classroom being like, hey?
It'll also be in the classroom on the assignments, and it'll be due by Thursday night. So you'll have, like I said, the next 3 days to work on it. But if you finish it today, you can turn it in today if the assignment's posted by that point.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So the attendance will be the form that we have for to answer your typed question for Wednesday and for Thursday. And then no school on Friday. So I will see you all on Monday. Thanks so much for paying attention. And I will see you then. Go ahead and log off and get to work. Bye, guys. Goodbye.